Well, great afternoon, Chattanooga. Welcome back to What's Happening in Your Neck of the Woods. I am Dr. Elenora Woods, the host of What's Happening in Your Neck of the Woods. And you know we are always up to something here at the Chattanooga Civic Center and WPTP Radio. I have some amazing people here today, and I'm telling you, they're about to make me give up meat altogether. I have today on the show with us Dr. Johnathan Parks Allen, who is a historian of Islamic and Middle Eastern history, who works as a researcher. Wow, researcher
Like
with,
that.
yes, a PhD in history from the University of Maryland, College Park. He is the founder and current director of Chattanooga Food Forest Coalition, an organization that is devoted to supporting community-based agricultural and ecological work in and around Chattanooga. Thank you for coming on to our show today. And before I get on with him, we've got another amazing person here today. And I tell you, she is phenomenal too. Her name is Lotus Cheney, and she is a regenerative farmer. Oh, wow. And she's a program strategist and a co-author who supports national farmer networks through her work with Our Space World Inc. And she's the founder of Button Bush Farm and Nursery in Chickamauga, and in Chickamauga, Georgia, where she blends native plants, nature-based play, and food justice into a living classroom for healing and growth. Welcome to both of you onto our show today. It's such a pleasure to have both of you on here today. You're changing the world. I think everybody.
Chattanooga, at least.
Yes, for sure. Like one city at a time.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming on. And what an amazing introduction for both of you and all the work that you're doing in the city. And we're excited. Why are we excited, y'all? Because Alton Park Development Corporation is partnering with their efforts to bring good food to Chattanooga right out here from our base. And I'm going to let you talk about that a little bit. And where are we going now? We were supposed to have a ground opening, a ground ceremony today, but it rang like cats and dogs. So we moved it now to tomorrow at 2. So y'all come out, but go ahead and tell us, Dr. Allen, what are the plans?
Well, partially depend on how many people we get. So we've got in front of the Civic Center, there's 3 beds that were built. You probably know.
Yes.
They've been there for a little while.
Yes.
So we're going to be renovating those. We're going to be putting in some new soil, probably starting a little bit of a fall crop to put in there. We're also going to be working on the space that's right in front as you go up the steps. For those of y'all who've been out here, there's 2 big, I guess you'd call them garden beds.
Yes.
They got a couple things on them right now, but we're going to be clearing the grass out of those and be planting just a bunch of stuff. We've got, let me see, what do we have? I've got strawberry plants. I got a couple of raspberries.
Oh, wow.
And I've got a bunch of native flowers. So I've got boneset and mist flower. I feel like I got some other things too.
Wow.
I just kind of get plants wherever.
That sounds
mountain
great.
mint. And we got some herbs.
Ooh,
and
what kind of herbs do we have?
let's see. So I just got them. Crabtree Farms actually donated them to us yesterday.
Okay.
There's oregano. There's yarrow. I feel like there's a couple other things in there.
Wow.
But we'll just kind of, we'll see what we can do. I got to get the grass out of there. And so we'll plant what we've got. And then what I'm really hoping we can do is start thinking about kind of bigger plans. Stuff we can't necessarily do tomorrow, but we'd like to add some fruit trees in the space around the Civic Center.
Oh, wow.
So we'll kind of think about where we want to put them. We might put some wood chips down tomorrow. So we'll just see how people are doing.
Yeah, something very interesting, because everybody's always concerned about the soil and contamination in this area of Alton Park, and even in the surrounding areas in Chattanooga, because of all the pollution that we suffered with for many, many, many years. So I understand that you all did some soil sampling, because there's people out there that's going to say, oh, I don't know if that's going to be good. Is that soil good?
Yeah.
So tell me what you did in preparation for this big thing in terms of testing the soil, and what did you all find?
Well, so for what we'll do tomorrow, we'll just be planting our vegetables in the raised beds, which I'll tell folks, if you're concerned about your soil, this is often a good path. If you can have elevated beds that you then fill in with soil that you can trust, that's the safest thing to do in this part of, in Chattanooga within the city. But yeah, what we normally do is we do soil testing for heavy metals, because that is something that you have to worry about around here. But we did testing out just right down the street at Emma Wheeler when we were working there. And we were actually surprised. We had kind of expected to find some stuff, because historically, I think most people know Chattanooga had a lot of heavy industry.
Yes.
And you get soil contamination from having had industry in a place, but also they would often take, all through the 20th century, the rubble or the slag from factories and dump it.
Wow.
So people's yards, especially in East Lake, I think to an extent in Clifton Hills and some other places, sometimes the dirt from in people's yards came from those foundries and stuff. And so they will have, there's no telling what's in them. You also get, if you've got an old house, you might get lead off of the paint, things like that. But when we did the soil testing out here, we were surprised. We didn't find anything. And I think it's because before they built Emma Wheeler homes, this area was just kind of cow pasture. I went back and I looked at a whole series of maps, USGS maps going back to the 1880s, and there wasn't any sign of anything here. It was just a pasture. So that's great.
That is great. And we got a creek that comes through, the Chattanooga Creek also.
The creek is polluted.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to ask you about the creek. Yeah. Did you go that far out in terms of looking for the soil? So go ahead.
We just test the soil. And what we do, we have some guys that come out and they have it looks like a ray gun, and they take samples and they're able to detect the toxic metal concentrations. So the big thing that you want to look out for is lead. If you're planting, especially leafy vegetables, because leafy vegetables they'll take up the lead, and if they're in contact with the dirt, you can get stuff. But so the soil that we'll be putting in the beds here, we're actually getting from the old Nema Gardens on Main Street. I don't know if you know about.
I've heard of it, but I've never purchased any soil or anything from there. But.
So it's a community garden that was started, probably 12, 15 years ago by a guy named Father Peter, who's an Episcopal priest I think he's from Kenya originally, but he's lived in Chattanooga a long time. So he started this garden on a lot on Main Street, and it was mostly Sudanese gardeners, so mostly migrants who were looking for a place to garden, and they built this thing up. It's probably a half acre or so, and they brought concrete blocks and they built up the soil in the concrete blocks, mostly from composting wood chips. So it's really good dirt. Unfortunately, the property that the garden is on, that they leased from, is going to be developed. Because when they started, it wasn't worth anything, but that area has become more prime real estate.
Well, a lot of stuff is being gentrified as they as land becomes kind of scarce in the city. So
there's a big development across the street from there, and so last year the guy that owns the properties, he kind of held off, but he finally gave in. I think somebody made him a really good offer. So it's going to be developed next year, which means we have to move all that soil and concrete block and find other homes for it. So the Food Forest Coalition, we've been helping to move that material to other gardens and sites so that it doesn't end up in a landfill. That's our goal.
Right. And we talked about, because we have with this property here that the Civic Center sits on, we have about 8 acres of land, and you and I talked about using about an acre of that land to develop something agriculturally for the community. So we haven't got totally past just the idea phase, but we have got our eyes on giving some of that property for the purpose of, developing it for food growth and that kind of thing.
And the difficulty we found is with a lot of community gardens and urban agriculture in general is not just finding land, but finding land that then you can count on being available for more than a couple of years.
Yes.
That's the tricky part. But we can talk a little bit more about maybe urban agriculture a little bit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, y'all come out. So we're not gonna be doing anything huge tomorrow. Yeah. We'll just be, kind of starting out. And the Food Forest Coalition, we really want to focus on the space right around the Civic Center. Because what we do a mix of annual vegetables, of wildflowers, and then also especially fruit trees. So perennials.
So what are the wildflowers? Because we don't eat wildflowers, do we?
No, but
is that just for beautification of it, or what is the wildflowers for?
Yeah. So that's part of it. They're pretty, and I like plants. But the goal, and this is a food forest, and that the idea of it kind of goes to this, is that you're not just planting the plants that you immediately want or need. So things that produce vegetables or fruit or whatever, but that you're really cultivating an entire ecosystem. Okay. So another word for this approach is like agroecology. There's a few other terms, but the idea is that you're thinking about what are all the different components that go into making plants, trees, whatever, flourish. And if you think about an ecosystem in nature, you have all kinds of things. You have your trees, your shrubs, your vines, you have your ground cover plants, and then you have all of the insects and microorganisms and birds and everything else that all goes into that.
Right.
And so what we try to do is to kind of mimic that approach and to think, all right, what can we plant that will encourage these processes? And it helps other living things, but it also helps us, because if you've got a healthy ecosystem that you're growing your fruit trees or your vegetables or whatever in, they're going to do better, and they're going to need fewer inputs. So you're not going to have to be fertilizing or spraying or whatever it is.
Right. Because, that was one problem, and I'll let you chime in on this. One of the problems when you start planting vegetables is that the air, the birds, and all these other little creatures want to eat too, especially berries. Talking about sweet stuff. You got all these other animals that say, "Hey, there's our dinner." So, in your opinion, I know this is what you do. Also, how do you do the cultivation and create this ecosystem
so that you get some too?
That we get some too, that we don't go out there and see it's all eaten up the next morning. So what is one of the suggestions that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good point what Johnathan mentioned, like increasing those native plants. So just like you can be native to Chattanooga, plants can also be native to a space. And so that's a benefit to us, especially in the farming community, because these plants, like wildflowers, the ones that Johnathan mentioned, these are the plants that lots of bugs want to eat.
Yes.
So whether it's collecting pollen or using their leaves as a host plant, for example, lots of caterpillars. So that means when we're increasing more of those native plants that the native bugs want to eat, then they're not going to be eating the things that we're growing. And so also having those beneficial bugs, so ladybugs, praying mantises, some wasps. I know not everyone enjoys being around.
We got some wasps and ladybugs around.
But I mean, a lot of them are beneficial. And so they actually will eat the bugs that eat our food. So for example, a really popular example is aphids. So they will eat all of your kale, all of your lettuce. They eat lots of the things that we grow. But ladybugs eat them. So if we're growing more plants that the ladybugs enjoy, then they will eat the bugs that are eating what we want.
So y'all hear that? If you're out there farming in your little backyard and you're frustrated with your good greens and other green leafy foods with these little insects eating them up, she said that if you feed the ladybugs things that they like, and then they will in turn take care of the little critters that come and eat our food. I didn't know that.
I mean, think of it kind of like, I don't know, if you had a bunch of people for a dinner or something.
Yes.
And if you have a buffet,
Yes.
they're not going to eat everything in the buffet at once.
Right.
But if you have like one dish and you put that in the middle of the table and everybody has to eat from that, it's going to be gone pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
And what we're kind of doing with this more kind of ecological approach is we're providing a buffet for all of these organisms. They're not going to just focus in on like the one thing you're trying to grow.
Right.
Like there's a lot of things. You spread the kind of pest pressures out and you bring in these other organisms that can kind of balance things out. And it really is, it is all about kind of creating a balance.
Yeah. So what about the tomatoes? Because that's one thing that frustrates people. They love to grow tomatoes, and gosh darn it, they come out there and the critters have gotten into their garden, have eaten all the tomatoes, of putting holes in them and just taking chunks out of it, Yeah. So that and fruit like peaches and things of that nature. So what type of wild, as you were saying, wild flowers do you plant to encourage those critters, because they like wildflowers, I take it, right? To grow so that they can take care of the ones that eat tomatoes, the stuff that we like. So what do you do in that case? What do you plant?
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of different options. So I think a lot of the pollinating flowers. So for example, you've got columbine, which is really popular in the spring. You've got purple coneflower, which is also known as echinacea. It's actually a medicinal. So when you're drinking different cough syrups or different teas, a lot of them have echinacea. So you can actually grow it yourself.
Okay.
And the pollinators love it. And there's black-eyed Susans. They're also native to the Southeast. So you have lots of different options, lots of different colors. Like I love flowers. And so I want to make it pretty too, so you can get white blooms, you can get red blooms, all of the varieties that you can get with traditional flowers that you might see at a big box store. There are often natives that are the same color, or they might offer the same beautiful display, but they serve more of a purpose, right? They're feeding other animals. Yeah, they're feeding the birds that are migrating, they're feeding the butterflies that are migrating, they're feeding the bees that are pollinating our tomatoes and strawberries. Like they serve lots of different purposes. So they have a lot of different benefits too.
That'd be another thing, is if you have annual vegetables, and I grow a ton of annual vegetables, but what I increasingly do is I'll have, you've got like your tomatoes here, and I will have wildflowers or some kind of perennial, like maybe one of my fruit trees, like right next to them.
Okay.
And so you intersperse your other things, because it is like creating an ecosystem.
Right.
You don't generally see ecosystems where you just have like one species of plant.
Right.
I mean, maybe like sometimes weeds, but that's about it. Usually it's more like a mosaic where you've got a lot of different things. And so for tomatoes, for anything that's needs pollinators, you want to be attracting those, and you want them to be coming into your garden. So the more things you have to keep them happy, the more likely they are to pollinate, your tomatoes or your squash or whatever.
Okay.
So I think people often make the mistake, like they'll have their garden patch and it'll be in the middle of like a lawn. And it's kind of like you've got a big party and you've put one plate of food in the middle of the table. Everybody's going to go for that.
Exactly.
It's going to be great. So just like the more diversity that you can add, it's just generally going to be better.
Wow.
And I can say I've been seriously small scale farming, big scale gardening for a few years now, and it really does work.
So yeah, that's interesting. So what is the difference between farming and gardening?
Well,
is it the size of it? Is it the number of things you plant? Like what makes one? Tell us, for the people in the back of the room, which I'm in the back of the room. So tell me what makes. I know one is the size of the land. Got to have at least 5 acres to have a farm in Tennessee, maybe sort of, kind of, maybe not.
There's like
Kinda.
legal, and then there's
right. Okay,
I'm a gardener. I'm not a farmer because we're not zoned for it.
So. Okay, so tell us the difference, and what can we expect differently as far as the outcome if you're a farmer versus you're just a gardener?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I think a lot of people, even me, like I've been a large scale farmer and I've also been a balcony gardener. So I'm often wondering where is the line. But I think it also depends on you. I mean, some people have thriving farms on half an acre. Some people have, massive botanical gardens in Atlanta and it's multiple acres. So I think it
Wow.
really just depends on you and your interpretation. So I guess a popular definition or distinction that some people might make is if you're selling produce or if you're selling something from that space, then it can be considered a farm because you're making a profit. But there are also like market gardeners who do sell at farmers markets or to
Yes.
restaurants, and they don't consider themselves farmers. They consider themselves like high they have they produce a lot high production gardeners. So it really depends on you. If you have a balcony and you want to say you're a farmer, then you're a farmer.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's very interesting.
I think for
Okay,
a lot of people, like gardens are kind of supplemental.
Mhm.
Like I couldn't make a living off of my garden.
Yeah, but you can eat
legally
well,
not
but
allowed
you
to,
can eat good.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and my goal is to grow enough that our family has lots of fruit, vegetables and fruits and stuff all year round, pretty much, and to have enough to kind of to give away. And we're about at that point. My fruit trees are still taking their time, but
yeah,
I mean that's kind of our goal, is to have a regular source of fresh vegetables and a little bit of surplus to give away. And that's what I'd love to see, like more people be able to do. And that's part of what we want to do with the Food Forest Coalition, is to make it possible for individuals and communities, not necessarily, they're not going to feed themselves entirely off of, community agriculture, but to make sure that, people are getting fresh vegetables pretty easily, either from a, community garden, or that they're growing themselves and kind of finding ways to support that.
And you know what I would like to see, and yeah, I like what you just said. We have enough space here at the Civic Center where you all can teach how to garden, and also I'm calling out those folks that are out there, some carpenters, to come together to help build some little mini boxes, raised beds, so that people can start learning how to garden, and then maybe do it at home, as well. But I would love to see that here at the Civic Center, where we're teaching the people, because this is a food desert out here, that.
Yeah.
And I like to see the people that live in this area to learn how to cultivate and to grow, and you all teach them how.
And some of it's just, it used to be, and I remember my grandparents and my great grandparents, all had big gardens. I mean, they're basically farms.
Right.
I mean, my great grandparents were like straight up farmers. But it used to be like that's just what everybody did. Like you had a backyard garden, maybe it was bigger than that.
Because my granddad and grandma did in Knoxville. They had a big old garden. They would take it to their friends on Saturday and Sunday. They'd just be delivering food to everybody. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And you still have, there are definitely folks out there, especially older folks, who like, they remember that, they have some of the skills and the knowledge, and I know for a fact they're often eager to like pass that on to other people.
Yes.
So some of those skills and knowledge is still out there, and there are other people who I think with a little bit of a little bit of learning, a little bit of support, would be happy to do it. I find what often happens is when people set out to garden and to grow some food, is they do it by themselves. They do it for like a year and they're like, "Dad, this is really hard."
This is hard,
Especially as like first year growing, you usually don't get that much. You've got to really kind of build it up, and people get discouraged and then they kind of give up. But if you have other people who are helping you out, who are giving you kind of pointers and giving you that like support, you're a lot more likely to keep going, as opposed to just doing it by yourself.
So do either one of you all have some pointers? If this is your first time doing this, what are some things that people need to get, they need to have as a part of their armamentarium of stuff that they will need to do their first bed? Let's say they're doing a bed that they have to have. What would you say they need to definitely go out and purchase to start their first bed?
Yeah. I would say starting with the soil. That's honestly, especially if you're starting with a raised bed, that's your number one most important asset to your garden is going to be your soil. Because it's a raised bed, it's not, your plants are not growing in the ground, so they don't have access to the nutrients that may already be in the ground. So you have to provide those nutrients. So yeah, number one would be soil. That's your building block. High quality seeds. You can really get seeds from everywhere. Yeah, from everywhere. I mean, dollar stores. You can at the local library in
At the
Chattanooga.
library.
Yep, the
And
downtown
in Walker.
Chattanooga. Yes, they have
Walker
a seed
County.
library.
Chickamauga, yeah.
Yeah, they have a seed library, so you can go there and you can get seeds for free. Like you can
Wow.
find seeds. And another thing that I would say everyone should have is patience. Have patience because it takes time, especially if you're starting for the first time. Maybe you're not sure what the plant is supposed to look like. You're not sure how long it's going to take for that seed to pop out of the ground. So having patience is going to be really important. And having faith. I mean, seeds want to grow. That's literally their only point in life is to grow. So the seeds want to grow. They want to work with you. And yeah, I think if you have that patience and like Johnathan was mentioning, you have community, you have folks who are interested or folks who can offer their assistance. I think your garden will be successful. I know it will be successful.
Everybody can grow stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
And shoot, I mean, I don't want to cut into your business, but I sometimes dig plants up off the side of the road. And I'll tell you, that's something I think I would encourage people to cultivate, which is kind of a pun. It's just like paying attention to what we have growing around us already. I mean, I know from where we're sitting, if we go up the road just a little bit, there are some incredible plants, kind of from old prairie remnants. And there's all kinds of stuff in the sunflower family. I mean, just amazing stuff. Like I've stopped on the side of the road just to look at things and like dig stuff up.
You carry your tools in your car.
Oh,
all
yes,
the time. You
ma'am.
go
Oh,
out
yeah.
there digging.
Yeah.
So
I've always
y'all
got a
see him
bucket.
digging. Y'all know what he's doing, right?
Yeah, I'm not probably breaking any laws, but I mean, even right over here by that big empty field where I guess there used to be a factory or something.
Yes.
There's a bunch of partridge pea growing, which is this really beautiful. It has little yellow pea looking flowers. It's a great nitrogen fixer. It does well in like degraded soils. It's a great plant. If you don't know what it is, if you're not kind of looking for those things, you're not going to see them. But once you start to really kind of pay attention, especially like if you're driving or walking or whatever, or just the plants growing on your property, like you might have some really cool stuff
I
just
think
coming
I
up.
do.
You probably do. I mean,
Yeah.
you might even have like I've been to people's places and they have like muscadines growing.
Yeah.
And you never noticed it, but it's kind of cultivating that attention, which is something I guess one of the people I first sort of learned it from was George Washington Carver. And this was something that he was really good at, was just paying attention to what was there. And one of the things that he tried to kind of instill in people was, he had a quote about it. I'm not going to try and remember it, but basically pay attention to nature. Nature will teach you things if you just look. You have to slow down and you have to ask yourself, well, what is this?
Yes.
And, especially when we're driving around, we're if you slow down a little bit and there's nobody behind you, you just see like what's growing on the side of the road, and notice where things are growing, where they're not. There's so much that you can see and that you can find, and then maybe replicate some of that in your own garden.
Yeah. So when you say you want to plant something that you see on the side of the road in your garden, is there a skill to getting that plant out of the ground? Like you basically need to have the roots with it. Do you have to dig down to the roots, or can you just take it off and take it where you want to plant it and put it in the ground from the just
Depends.
clip it? Can you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it depends on the plant. Yeah. Now, some plants, you can see them growing all year round and you can just collect the seeds. Like you can just clip off the seeds once the seed has dried, and you can just plant the seeds. You can take the fruits and then, harvest seeds from there. Some plants, yes, you probably will need to have the roots if you're trying to take the whole thing. But like Johnathan mentioned, a lot of native plants, they might be 6 feet tall. So it's really difficult to like try and harvest those.
Yes.
And if it's more of a woody type of plant, sometimes you can just take a branch off. And then you can put it in water and roots will actually start to
Roots
grow.
will start growing.
Yeah.
I've seen my mom do that. She would have a plant and she'd get a jar, put some water in it, and she set it in some kind of way. The little roots would start growing down in the water. And then after the roots start growing, then she planted. Wow.
You can't beat that. I mean,
Willow
something. Willow trees are really good at that. And what you can do, cut you some willow. And if you had other things you want to start that way, like elderberry is one that does really well. You put them in the same bucket. And willow has a natural rooting agent to the point that you can actually take like willow branches and just like stick them in the dirt.
Wow.
And they will start growing.
They will. That is crazy.
And then you will have them forever. That's the only thing I will say about a lot of native plants. You do have to be careful because a lot of them, they're very robust. And you have to decide, it's like, do I want this? So maypops, have you grown maypops?
Yep.
Maypops are great. But they are very prolific. They will. They're hard to kill after you get them out.
I got
vines, they're amazing.
This is a question that a lot of people, and we have this conversation a lot in families. Just we eat watermelon. Watermelon has seeds in it, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna ask the question: can you take that seed and plant it in some soil and grow some watermelon? The seed from inside the watermelon you're eating. Do you get the brown one or the little bitty white ones that's in there? There's some little bitty white ones, and then there's the brown ones. So what do you suggest?
Yeah, so I would say you definitely want the brown ones.
The brown ones.
And if possible, a lot of times you'll probably want an organic watermelon because sometimes if it's not organic, then it's hard to describe without getting into the politics, but sometimes the seed will not grow. It's the same with like maybe potatoes or something like that. They might have a spray on them that discourages them from growing.
Well, that's not political. That's just saying if you want to grow a watermelon, then you have to be careful that the watermelon that you're planting the seed or getting the seeds from is organic so that you can ensure that it will survive after you plant it.
Yes.
Got it.
And then any watermelons you grow will also be organic.
And you can harvest the seeds.
Yes.
Yeah, because my daughter has a little garden on her. You were talking about balcony gardening, and she grew some watermelons. I was like, that watermelon's not going to grow. But she grew some little watermelons. I was surprised.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I'm no good at growing watermelons. That's one thing. I say you can grow anything. My watermelons always, they grow and then something happens. They start to rot from below and just like,
So what does a watermelon have to have, since we're on this subject? What does it have to really flourish if you plant it from the seed?
Heat.
A lot of
they
heat.
love the heat. So if you have like an area that's dry and hot, watermelons are going to thrive. And they also, you can, like Johnathan mentioned, sometimes they can rot from the bottom. So you can also grow them on sort of a trellis type structure. So give them some support because they'll continue to grow up and up and up that trellis. And then you can keep the watermelon off the ground. So the critters don't get to them. And it has lots of space, right? Especially if you don't have a lot of space to grow, growing up is a really great way to optimize what you can grow because you're using vertical space instead of horizontal space. Yep.
That brings me to this question, and you all feel free to elaborate on something we haven't covered. We have to do at least a couple of classes, maybe 3 classes a year, so that people will know that this is where I can go to learn. Because some people really want to get into, especially with what's going on in our country and the world, people want safe food.
Yep.
So as they're thinking safety, they're also thinking about growing their own food versus going to the store and buying it so they know what's in their food. If you can teach it 3 or 4 times a year and have a place where you can come, which our Civic Center is open to that, then people will come You'll have some examples maybe of some plants that you've already gotten started from the beginning to the end, and they'll learn. They'll learn the pros and cons to gardening. Because I'm sure there are some pros and cons, which that will help us if you would give us some pros and cons or whatever thought you just had. Do that. Say that.
I was just say, and maybe in some cooking demonstrations.
Yeah.
Because that is one thing that I've found with our community gardens and stuff. Sometimes people will visit and they'll be looking at like what we got growing, and they'll be like, well, what is this? And then they'll be like, I've never eaten this before, including like okra, which you would think everybody had okra. But I've been surprised by like the number of people who have never eaten okra.
Yeah.
Wow, okra is so good.
It is, man, it is. It's wonderful.
It's delicious.
I will say some people definitely, when they were kids, I think they were served okra that was not cooked the way it probably could have been, you know? And so they've got like that, that image in their heads.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
so
had
sometimes
some of those images, but I overcame it when I started learning how to prepare it myself.
that's the thing. Yeah. Once you get it better in a better way, then you can be like, oh man, I want to use this. So I think doing that too can be really helpful, especially like for kids who maybe haven't, they haven't
like
eaten fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like you give a kid a cucumber off the vine, and I've seen this happen. They may have never had a cucumber in their life, but they eat it fresh and they're like, oh man, I want another one of those.
Yeah. They are delicious.
They are.
I've learned to really love cucumbers raw.
Yeah.
And in salads. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. And now I don't really like the salad dressings that I prefer to have the vinaigrette stuff,
Taste the vegetables.
It really wakens up the flavor in the fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You get to highlight the vegetables more than the dressing, which I think is really nice, especially if you're growing it yourself.
So if they're fresh vegetables,
yeah,
it's like in a bag.
Yeah.
Yes, you won't like the heavy.
Yeah, especially if you're growing it yourself, you really get the ability to like taste it the way it's supposed to be eaten. Like I think that's really beneficial to growing food yourself.
Yes. So anything else you all want to add? Because we got a baby that wants some vegetables over there. He's come in the show.
He's my farm baby.
That is her first baby?
Yeah, he's my farm baby.
Oh, he's her farm baby. So what else would you like the audience to know? And then I'm going to kick it in another gear because we got some stuff going on. We got farming going on. We got community art going on. We have, just so many things going on in the community to make this world a better place, one block at a time. What else would you like to say that we haven't covered other than tomorrow at 2? Be here at the Chattanooga Civic Center at 2:00 so you all can get that first, I call it that initial groundbreaking ceremony with our raised beds tomorrow with Johnathan and Miss Chancey over there. And anybody else is going to come as part of your team with Forest. Is it the Food Forestry?
Food Forest Coalition.
Food Forest Coalition.
That's a mouthful.
Yes. What else can we tell our audience today before you guys leave? What you want them to know?
Yeah. So I actually just started a new project in Chickamauga. You talked about it in the introduction.
Yes.
So Buttonbush Farm and Nursery is now under construction, I guess you can call it. And so, we're really excited. We grow native plants. So a lot of those plants that I mentioned that would attract those beneficial bugs, they're going to feed pollinators, they're feeding the birds, they're really offering more beauty to your garden. We grow a lot of those, and it will also become a micro botanical garden. So folks will be able to walk through and see a lot of the plants that are native to Chattanooga and the Southeast. And we are having a fall festival, which Johnathan will be there too. We're having a fall festival October 11th.
Count me in. I'll be there. I want to see that.
Yeah, that we're going to have demonstrations. So lots of those gardening.
We'll have food too.
Yes, we will have food. We will have plants for sale. We'll have lots of educational stuff, activities.
For kids too.
Yes, kids activities. And it's going to be hosted at Eden's Harvest, which is a permaculture farm. And they have lots of animals, including my favorite, Hash Brown. He's a little pig. He's the best.
There's a trampoline.
October the 11th. We'll be
The
there.
pig doesn't go on the trampoline, but
give us the address of where that is. Do you know the street address in Chickamauga?
Let's see.
I might have
Jonathan can pull it up. for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is this
Yeah.
the first time they've done anything of this nature?
Yeah.
That's
Mhm. It's
awesome.
gonna be our
Wow.
first one. We'll have a vendor application open too.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
There it is.
Wow, you got it? Did you find it? Okay.
Yes,
Give them
it
the address
is.
of where that's gonna be and how to get there. You all can look it up.
Mhm.
1834 Lytle Road, Chickamauga, Georgia.
1834 Lytle Road,
Mhm.
Chickamauga, Georgia. October the 11th.
11th.
And what's the time?
10
10
to 4.
10
Mhm.
to 4, y'all.
Yep.
So y'all come out and be a part of this. I love what we're creating in this country now.
Yeah.
I always say to every bad, there's always 10 goods.
Mm.
So when you see the bad, look around. There's going to be at least 10 goods for that
Mhm.
one bad. So we're going to learn to love the good and the bad and give God the glory for everything,
Mhm.
right? And which brings me to the 11th annual 2025 Chattanooga Humanitarian Award Gala. Yes, this is the 11th annual. It is going on and going down October the 25th here at the Chattanooga Civic Center. Y'all, it's going to be spectacular. Let me tell you, we have our list of honorees, and I'm going to call them out. They've all said yes. Commissioner Greg Beck from the County Commissioner of District 5. Pastor Joe Callahan, who is the pastor of Rossville Baptist Church, who loves to feed the hungry and clothe them and all kinds of things all throughout the year. Attorney Benjamin Crump and the casting crew of How to Sue the Klan. They will be here, y'all, to receive their honor and award. We've contacted Franklin Strickland Funeral Home. I've talked to Duke. You all know him as Duke, John P. Franklin, and Cheryl Franklin. They are honorees this year as well. Kudos to them for all they do to help families in this city, especially when a crisis comes, such as the loss of a loved one. Representative Yusuf Hakeem is our House State Representative for District 28. Kudos to him, an amazing man. I thank him for all the things that he's done and everything that he fights for every day for our community in District 28 in particular, which is the largest district in Hamilton County, is District 28. Yes. Dr. Pastor Terry Ladd, who is the pastor of the great, I call it historical First Baptist Church. That church was the church that Martin Luther King, when he came through Chattanooga, applied to be the pastor for, and they turned him down because they said he was single and young. But you all know the rest of the story, what happened with him. But he applied to be the pastor at that church first. So it is very historical, located on 8th Street or 8th Avenue. Also, Kyra Brewer Headley, who is the owner of Brewer Media, that's Power 94, 93.5. Who has done amazing things in this community, especially communities that look like us. She will get you on and talk about your programs, allow you to just educate the community through their amazing broadcasts. She's definitely helped us in everything that we've done. She's just broadcasted a bunch of stuff. They go all over the city, even outside the city.
Wow.
Their broadcast. So kudos to Kyra. She is an amazing lady, and it's been at least 20 or 30 years that I know that they've been in radio world helping us. So it's just amazing. Thank you, Kyra. Also, Minister Wilhelmina Hogg. She's a minister and radio personality for WNOO, which is the first, initially it was the only Black-owned radio station. She's also a radio personality now for WPTP, which is where we are today. Kudos to her and all the things that she's doing with the Clergy Connoisseur, which you all know is the organization for Baptist ministers here in Chattanooga. So kudos to her. And then also Judge Boyd Patterson. You all know he is the criminal court judge for Chattanooga, Hamilton County, an amazing judge. When he came out for our community festival, he talked about the things that he's involved with, the things that he started. He has a drug program to help people get off of drugs and people who find themselves in trouble with their rent. He talks about how he gets the landlord and the tenants together and works out things so that no one can lose their place to live.
Wow.
So I just want to say kudos to all those amazing people. We're going to have some surprise entertainment. You all know we have surprise entertainment, and kudos to Herman's Food. You all, if you like good food, you all know how he's going to bring. He brings it every year, and that is going to be some outstanding food. So we got live entertainment, we've got good food, and we have good company. And this year's theme is I am my brother's keeper. So I want to tell you all why we chose that theme this year. And I'm going to read it. This is an artificial intelligence definition of what we mean when we say I am my brother's keeper. Now, we'll hear somebody say, am I my brother's keeper?
Yeah.
You know, in a negative way. But I am my brother's keeper means accepting responsibility for the welfare of others. It is a concept originating from the biblical story of Cain and Abel, where God asked Cain, am I my brother's keeper? So after Cain murders Abel, in modern context, the phrase signifies a commitment to care for and to support fellow human beings, highlighting a shared responsibility for each other's well-being in society. And that's why these honorees have been selected, because they have given their life, they have given their personal resources and their time, and they've made personal sacrifices to make sure that they take care of others, and they genuinely care about the well-being of others. So I salute all of you this year that have been nominated by the community and have been vetted properly and have been accepted by the board to honor you this year. You will receive, or they will receive, proclamations from the county mayor, the city mayor, a special thank you from the governor of Tennessee, and also, of course, the global award from the Alton Park Development Corporation, which is a beautiful award. And I want to say again, thank you for all of you who have made this possible for 11 years. For those that come out and support this worthwhile event, I want to thank you all too. Tickets will be available starting this weekend. And if you want to be a sponsor of this event to make sure that it continues, then you can also be a sponsor to this event. So thank you all so much. And you know, today is Saturday. That means tomorrow is Sunday. We have to give the Lord praises and thank him for all of the blessings that he has bestowed upon us. And so even if you can't go to church, you know, now you can go to church right from your bedroom. Everything is virtual now. So wherever you are, in your kitchen, in your bed, in your driveway, in your front yard, you can say, thank you, Lord. And you should be doing it 24 hours, 7 days a week, because you're supposed to pray without ceasing, right? But at least tomorrow, we've made that kind of our day, and Saturday for those who are what we call a 7-day Adventist. And there's some other religions out there, but at least tomorrow, you all give the Lord some thank you, because you know you've been blessed, and you continue to get blessed when you're blessing other people. And for now, you all, I'll see you next Saturday. And I'd like to thank our guests. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor, for coming on today. And you all have been a blessing to the city. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right.